Hi everyone, Lazy Fire here. Welcome back to the Hate the Player podcast. It's the podcast that no one listens to us, so I can say whatever the fuck I want.
All right, Bam Margera.
Oh, damn, backfired.
God, wow.
Guess what? No. Guess what? Guess what?
We're
Three
both
Toes is here.
What?
Yeah.
Yay!
Well, we're here at the same time. I think for the past month and a half, I've had to attend to my masturbatory studies, and Ritos has had to, I don't know, murder hookers or whatever the hell he does in his spare time.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, Arnold, as much as I appreciate the help, you were fucking ruining my introduction. Arnold is also here. Yeah, see, he makes those noises sometimes. That's it. There it is. There we go. The Arnold noises. Arnold is, of course, fresh off a mention in. At this point, he'll have been mentioned in two Let's Plays that he's not even appeared in. But
I'm kind of a big deal.
I ended up killing one of his killers in Shadow of Mordor. That was kind of fun. And then he also got a mention as a basically pedophile in CQC's Daikatana LP.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to edit that bit out.
Nah.
Yeah.
You should. They had to nuke the audio in that episode too because they were just throwing something down that I can't figure out yet. I need to ask about it. But yeah, you and Chrono Jam got mentioned in the same breath, pretty reliably.
Hey, mine was a drunken thing, one-time thing, and Chrono was that was a little
He's
different.
got a relationship. Yeah,
Yes, he's got a relationship.
Who failed harder?
Yeah.
Why would anyone willingly play Daikatana?
Because CQC is insane. But the whole gimmick behind the whole thing, and he's also unemployed soon. But the gimmick behind the entire thing is that it is, quote, the most hardcore of FPSs, and like every other game is casual. So Strangelove will be like, yeah, my dad bought this casual game known as Wolfenstein: The New Order, and like just. It's hilarious. Everything that they say is supposed to be straightforward. It's absolutely fucking hilarious to watch these guys. But then they realize, and I think this is the problem, why people should never do Daikatana alone, or friends don't let friends do Daikatana, is because the game is so boring that all you can really talk about is how poorly designed it is. Like, you go from one area to the other, and you're just like, yeah, to get to this next area, you have to find this really similar colored wall that you hit the use button on, and it turns out it's a door. And it's like it's shit like that for like 30 minutes.
God, I remember when that game was in development, and it was supposed to be John Romero's like masterpiece,
Yeah, he was gonna make you his bitch.
like his fucking swan song of game development.
Yeah.
Only took him a decade to apologize too.
Yeah. He took longer than Warner Brothers did. That's at least good. So I was gonna launch right into the Arkham thing, but Three Toes, you've been playing some Binding of Isaac, and you said it was actually really entertaining.
I have. I've really been liking Rebirth now that I
yeah.
have a machine that can fucking play it, because the Mac I was on earlier, I couldn't. The hardware was actually too out of spec to update to the latest OS X. Yeah. But it's really fun. Probably the best part, what I like most about it, is that you can really just fucking play it anywhere. Like, you really don't need sound. You don't need a controller. I've been playing with just the keyboard.
Yeah.
I'd take it, like, I was on vacation with my family last week. Played it whenever, I had downtime there. Like, played it earlier today. Played it at my girlfriend's place. Like, it's just a fun little, top-down adventure, completely random shooter game with weird religious context.
Yeah, that's the other half of it. But yeah, you've been enjoying that, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so, I don't know if there's really anything to say about it. That's the weird thing about it. You can say you enjoy it. There's weird religious things. It's a roguelike element to it. But I feel like Isaac is one of those things that if you're not playing it actively and, like, looking at it, there is not a ton to say about that game.
No, not really. Partly because isn't isn't like the whole story behind it still somewhat of a mystery? Like you're still not exactly sure what's going on with the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no words. It's like, well, it gives you the whole introduction. Isaac
Yeah,
jumps into the basement basically, and it's like, is Isaac hallucinating it? Is this whole thing? It's just like there's no real story to it. It's just get to the end, beat all the bosses, even the secret bosses, blah blah blah.
yeah.
Poop Zelda's a good game.
That's right. I forgot you called it that.
I mean, that's pretty much
And
what it is. If you can imagine Zelda, but with poop,
and a lot more items. Yeah.
a lot more. Yeah, a lot more items.
Yeah.
What's interesting is how quickly everyone jumped on the sequel bandwagon, like right after it came out, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
It's like, what was it? Only like 3 months after it came out, they're like, okay, what's going on for the next one?
Yeah.
It's like, that'll be a few years, guys. Like, fuck, calm down.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like people. I think this is kind of the issue. They don't realize that there is a lot of work that goes into those Isaac games, because if they look at the first one and you know the Binding of Isaac, whatever, and the Wrath of the Lamb that came out later on, and then they look at Rebirth and they're like, oh, it's almost the exact same game. It's like, no, there is. You know, if you watch the videos of the two side by side, there is a lot going on in Rebirth that is just not happening in the original Binding of Isaac. And so you see this happening. It's not just a graphical upgrade, but it's the way things are laid out, the rooms, the monsters, how the bosses interact with you, how items are rolled, and how they work together. Like, it's not going to be just, okay, here's a sequel a year later. It's not a Call of Duty game in that regard.
Mm.
Uh, and it's, what is it, like a 20-person team that makes that game? It's just good luck.
Mm.
Yeah.
Pretty goddamn good game though.
Yeah.
Gotta say, it's probably one of my favorite roguelikes.
Yeah, but yeah, other than that, I played some Counter Strike with you not too long
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
We
we
need to do
played.
some more of that. I was really surprised at how well I was doing.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like Prince of Space where his strength lies in choosing the enemies that are the weakest. Uh, because those guys were bad. I played a
Yeah,
game the other day where, like, I was getting killed by this one dude who was just like really dedicated to knifing people and Zeusing them, and that was like I could not understand how I was losing all these fights, and I realized the guy is just not playing the game. He is playing his game. His game happens to be being a jackass, and he was
yeah.
like blocking people in doorways and murdering his teammates so they couldn't defuse the bomb. And
Did,
like,
did he advertise his YouTube channel? Because I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing it for.
no, he was. His name was like Lord of the Smurfs or something like that, so he was
Oh
very
god.
clearly trying to drop himself in rank. Um, so yeah, it was a funny fucking game to watch play. It was just this one guy fucking up his entire team. We lost like 3 rounds, and part of that was because we all decided to Zeus at the end, and we got absolutely fucking destroyed by the competent players.
Well,
'Cause
see, I really am surprised I'm not better at that game, considering I've been playing it since 1999.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of on that night. And now you said that I need to do something in order to play with you again. Like I have
Yeah,
to rank up.
yeah. They introduced the new system. They introduced the Call of Duty style ranking system where you get XP, but it's not really clear how that works. And to be able to play competitive, you need to rank 4 or something like that.
Hmm.
Now, it shouldn't take too long, but that means you'd have to play casual.
Hmm.
God, well, see, I always do so
deathmatch.
bad at casual. I do so much better in competitive because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Like that's the original format of
What's the
Counter Strike.
difference?
Casual
Larger
has
teams. There's no collision. Meaning you just walk through your
No
teammates instead
friendly
of bumping
fire.
into them. Yeah, no friendly fire. Um, there's a cap on money, isn't there? Like how much money you can earn per
No,
round.
you get more per round than you
Oh
usually
yeah,
would.
it makes it so much easier to buy guns. It's just different. It casual basically turns Counter Strike into Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's bad, and like the people who play there, they are not the people that you really want to play with. They're the guys who got banned from matchmaking because Like, I played a game last night where a guy goes, "Alright, guys, hold on, I'm gonna go make tacos." And he disappeared for 10 minutes
Did he sound like
to
that?
make tacos.
Hey guys, I go make some tacos.
No, he had this weird lisp thing going on.
Oh.
It was the only reason I recognized who he was when he came back. Because he left in a match, and then he came back, he's like, "I got tacos," and it's like, "Could you go?" And I'm dead. He is the only person on the team alive. I'm like, "Could you go defuse the bomb? They just planted it." He's like, "I guess I could," and he goes down and he gets shot immediately because he didn't buy anything because he was just gone to make tacos. It was like, are you,
Jesus.
but I've had games where people are like 4 minutes in, like, "I've got to go," and they just leave, and you're like,
So,
it says right there. They always ask, "Could you kick me? Could you kick me?" And it's like, I just never do it.
just
If they ask, I don't do it.
real quick, that can't help but remind me of a certain person we all know who I'll say remains nameless, but may have been in a K-hole at the moment, like left Grand Theft Auto 5 to go down to like the corner store to get something, to get like, I think it was a fucking donut or something. I can't remember. And we were all like taking bets on whether or not he would like come back, if he would actually make it back home.
Oh my god.
He was never heard from again.
God, he may as well not have been, huh?
Yeah. So
You
were
meet the
saying,
greatest people on the internet.
what were you saying? There was something you were saying before the Binding of Isaac thing. There was some sort of news for another. Batman, an Arkham thing.
Oh god, Arkham.
What happened?
Holy shit.
What
There's so
didn't
much to
happen?
talk about there. So, let's start off with, before the game was released, Green Man Gaming, the Steam key seller, they had the game off, 40% off. You could pre-order the game for 40% off, $36.
I noticed that G2A had it for like $22, like before it was even out.
Okay, I think that should have been the first sign something was terribly wrong with the PC version of the game. Because they were just clearly trying to get money off pre-orders and not worrying about anything else. Steam, oddly enough, even during Summer Sale, didn't have any deals on it, so that was kind of odd. But so people were buying that, and then there was another way you could get the game early, besides pre-ordering, which was buying a NVIDIA GPU. So the 970, 960, and 980, I believe, all had a copy of Arkham, a Steam key for it in there. And that version of the game came with the Harley Quinn DLC, so you can play as Harley Quinn. By the way, all the DLC, the character DLC, it's all on the fucking disc already. It's just like, if you buy it, it's just unlocked. It's the thing WB does. They are fucking shitheels about everything they do. They've cut up their games and cut out content. They've said they weren't going to fix shit in their games because they have to work on the DLC first. It's terrible. I don't know why anyone would support them at this stage of the game. I even Shadow of Mordor, which I'm playing now, and is by all means a really good game, had the same problems. They did release some free DLC for it though, which was nice. But like day one, people were like saying, "No, copy this information into an INI file, and delete the one that's there, or you won't be able to run it." Shit like that on
Oh
the
my
PC
God.
version of it. That was Shadow of Mordor. Batman has bigger problems. So.
Yeah, his parents are dead.
Yeah, that's a whole thing too. So, day before release, two things happened. One, the NVIDIA GPU owners who were, taking their codes and certifying them, found out that the Harley Quinn DLC had been stripped from their codes. So all codes that came with the NVIDIA GPUs no longer had the Harley Quinn DLC.
Womp womp.
Then Warner Brothers did not announce this, by the way. It was something people found out. Then Warner Brothers did announce that they were changing the recommended graphics card on the AMD side to something that was like a year and a half older, or a year and a half newer. And so, if you thought you were going to run this game on PC, Warner Brothers basically told you, "No, fuck yourself. You are not going to do it. You're probably going to have to go buy a new card." But those 2 points turned out to be completely moot on day one because Warner Brothers did not really port this game too well. I should say Iron Galaxy did not have enough time to port this game from the PlayStation 4 to the PC because there are two major issues besides crashes and bugs. frame rate and graphics, which are, the two things PC gamers care about the fucking most.
Yeah.
It's sort of divided into two systems on either side. So on frame rate, there's two problems. There's a 30 frame per second cap.
What?
And
What?
yep, yeah, it's capped at 30 frames per second. You can go into an INI file. You can go into the INI and change the frame rate cap to whatever you want it to be. But most people have not done this because the bigger problem with the frame rate is that it does not steady at all. And I'm talking, it'll be totally smooth. It doesn't make any sense either. It'll be totally smooth when you're fighting like 8 guys, and then when you go to like hook onto a gargoyle a second later, it goes down to no frames per second, then up to 5, and then over to 20, and then down to 3, and then and by the time you get to the gargoyle, you've gone through a fucking mood swing worth of frame rate changes. And it does that for everything, and apparently one of the worst offenders is getting in and out of the Batmobile, which is a huge part of that game. Because like one of the things they said is like you'll be able to launch out of the Batmobile, glide over a building, and then land back in the Batmobile on the other side of the building. Like that was how they wanted it to work. Yeah, well, if you do that, get ready for frame rates of 5, then 0, and then continuing for 0 for a while. And then when you land back in it, it goes down to 15 after it run at 30 for a second or two. So it's not sounding good for the released version of the game. And I actually had a little bit of I have to be honest, I didn't play it because I had more restraint than usual. Because if I see a game on super sale like that, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get this shit. And I took one look at the price, and I'm like, oh man, they're gonna fuck the PC community on this thing. I can feel it now. I'm not gonna do it. And it turned out to be the right move. On the graphics side, there are no graphic options, or there are graphic options beyond normal, but there are no graphics beyond normal. Like
What?
if
What?
if you set your graphics to high,
Mm-hmm.
your graphics are the normal graphics. If you set your graphics to ultra, your graphics are the normal graphics. They did not add the graphics for high or ultra or very high or whatever. Now they also didn't include like 90% of the little visual bells and whistles that they advertise with the game. So the big example is the water running down the side of Batman's head in the rain. It doesn't exist on the PC version, but it does exist on the PlayStation 4 version. They didn't include any of that. Then they also made it so even if you go into the INI file and turn motion blur off, motion blur is still on. It is just like hard coded into the game. No matter what you do, there's motion blur. So needless to say, people were fucking furious over how this was treated, and WB within 24 hours of the game's release pulled it from Steam and other digital distributors.
No shit.
Yeah. And then they issued an apology, believe it or not, and said that they're going to make it right. And they linked the Steam refund page saying if you don't like the game and you're not happy with how it was, refund it. Which makes me wonder where that money comes from, if Steam's paying that out or if Warner Brothers is paying part of that at least. Because I can't imagine they would pay all of that money willingly. But Green Man Gaming, they started offering refunds for anyone who bought Arkham Knight as well. So it's like, this is like huge. And so
How does that happen in 2015, dude?
well, I'm going to go with this. Arkham Knight was delayed twice. It was supposed to release in October 2014, which would have been thematically significant because the game takes place at Halloween. But they moved it back. I think it was to avoid conflict with the big holiday releases that year. And then it was going to release in March, and they moved it to not interfere with Hardline. And they said they were going to add polish to the game and add features and all this other crap. My guess is what they actually did was try to get the game working on the consoles to an acceptable level, and then they said, okay, here's the final code, Iron Galaxy, make it work on a PC, and you have 3 weeks or something like that. I don't even understand. I don't. I was not part of this process, but it sounds, from everything I've heard, it doesn't sound like Iron Galaxy was necessarily the problem. It sounds like the timetable they were given was the issue.
So now I'm curious as to how well the PS4 version's been received.
Oh, no one has a problem with the PS4 or the Xbox One version of the game.
Okay.
Like, it does not have the frame rate issues. runs at 30 frames per second. It plays in what most people assume is 1080p, probably 900, and the game doesn't slow down. It doesn't have graphical issues the way the PC version does. It looks like somebody took a really old code of the game before some of the stuff was finished, and then just said, "Make this work," and kind of just left Iron Galaxy to their own devices with no help. But so there have been a couple developments since it was taken off the marketplace. Warner Brothers has come out and said that they are going to make it right. They're going to put everyone they can on this thing. They're going to really re-release the game at some point for the PC. They've released one patch so far. It came out today. It is 65 megabytes, and it fixes some of the more abhorrent crashes, like the crash the game experiences when you try to leave it, which I think is... It's like, if you fuck up exiting your game and it crashes because you tried to exit the game, there may be a problem.
Oh, you want to exit this game, motherfucker? I'll exit this game for you.
How about I just use all of your RAM for a few minutes? Yeah, like you couldn't alt-tab out of it correctly or something like that, but they also added the rain effects into the game. Considering the game takes place in like a constant rainstorm, the fact that they had to add rain effects is kind of an issue. But from
I actually saw someone doing a let's play of the game saying that the game crashed and suddenly his USB ports were no longer recognized.
Yeah. It sounds like this game is a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster fire that like they knew was burning really hot, and what they tried to do instead of like putting it out was sell it to somebody else real quick. Like, no. When the fire goes out, that's a totally usable dumpster. I don't know. You can use it for heating.
Would you say that Warner Brothers is being two-faced?
No. I think the bigger issue... I don't know.
Riddle me this. Why was that pun so terrible?
Something
I'm
about
sorry,
umbrellas.
bourbon makes me make bad puns.
Yeah. You should start drinking your own beer.
Yeah, I should just stick to beer.
if it helps us. But yeah, it's... I don't know. Like, that game is really highly anticipated. It's going to be... It was supposed to be the last in the Arkham series. I'm sure there will be a way to make more of them, though. Rocksteady said it was the last one they were doing. And, it was highly anticipated. People bought into it, and this is like the real reason I don't really pre-order games anymore, is because I do not trust any company at this point to release a game that works on launch day. It just has not happened in a long time. Oddly enough, the only game I've seen work like totally correctly on launch day for me was fucking Battlefield goddamned Hardline. The game that nobody played on PC.
I was about to say, it's just that nobody wanted to play it.
I played it with CQC last night, and all I did was fly the helicopter around so he could gun down cars. Actually, a lot of fun. I came in third on the team. He came in first. He had 36 kills. I had 5. It was pretty funny. It was like 36, 21, 5, 32. It was like, goddamn, what happened?
I'm helping.
Yeah, I was helping. But yeah, it's just I don't really expect a lot of games now. I expect them to be broken as shit on launch. I expect them to need months of patching. And my real issue is that I also expect them now, any game that comes out, to need to keep up with the console version. So patches for the PC version of the game are going to come out later and later and later as they try to like release these multi-platform patches where your issues may actually be platform specific, like they were in this case.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. So...
That's
what do you
disappointing
guys
because
think?
I was looking forward to it. I really like all the Batman games. I mean, I've been playing through Origins on and off for a while. So
yeah, the whole series was so well received. It's like disappointing to see it kind of go out like that.
Well, I mean, kind of like when Episode 1 came out for Star Wars.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
the first three were great. First three were great.
Let's not say things we're going to regret. I don't know if it's that.
And then, wait till you see this. Wait till you see this. This is going to be great. This is going to be the best thing. Nope.
At least there is a version of this game that you
no.
can play. It just requires a PS4 or an Xbox One.
Yeah.
There was nothing that made episode 1 watchable.
No.
That's true.
Maybe
Fair enough.
heavy drinking. I passed out halfway through episode 1 thanks to this drink. It was a pretty good movie. I don't remember the first 30 minutes of it either.
I'd be afraid that it'd be like some sort of, if I fell asleep during it, it'd be like a Freddy Krueger thing where it would just be in my mind forever. So,
But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of the state of games. The funny thing was, Giant Bomb, when they were doing interviews at E3, which was a week before this game released, one of the questions they asked a couple of the guys who do game development was, what's it going to take to make the industry stop releasing broken, shitty games? And it was pretty telling that neither of those guys responded to that. Like, there's always going to be deadlines, there's always going to be this rush from a publisher to get a game out there. You know, your Kickstarters and your early accesses will not save this thing, as Arnold can attest. Actually, hey Arnold, forgot to mention this last week. Football-headed motherfucker. Guess what? That guy who made DayZ, he's got a fucking Space Station 13 themed game coming out.
I know.
Called Ion.
Yep, and it's going to be. I read something where he said he doesn't want it to be like a game.
That motherfucker gets $20 and he thinks he's fucking king shit at Fuck Mountain. I swear to God.
Just let that sink in. Just let it sink in. I want this to not be a game.
Yeah. Fucking that guy. He's so goddamn pretentious. He is so goddamn pretentious. You knew, you could hear, the second you read some of the shit out of there, you're like, I bet he's a motherfucking white middle-class motherfucker, and sure enough.
Oh, God.
It sounds like a white person would say this.
No, he's just fucking terrible. Like, and I think I hate, like, everything about that. No, I mean, not as a person. Obviously, I don't know him as a person, but, like, when it comes to game design, there's nobody I hate like him. Because I was just playing, before you Skyped me, I was playing Breaking Point, which is basically DayZ before it was shit.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And it's like, oh yeah, I used to have fun playing these sorts of games. Or now I do. But I fired up DayZ probably a couple weeks ago just to see what it looked like. Still shit. Frame rate's like 15 in cities. Like, no, it's
made
terrible.
by the Batman team.
Yeah, pretty much. Dude, no, don't insult the Batman team, dude. They could Batman could have like literally instead of like shipping out like DVDs of the game or digital versions of the game or downloading whatever, they could have somehow innovated a technology where instead of the game, like shit comes out of your monitor, and it would still be a better game than DayZ.
Oh God. Well, I think that's that's kind of the fate of a lot of those games that got a lot of hype from being early access or being mods. Is that like it seems to be? Think about like Insurgency is actually pretty fun. We've had fun with that. Counter-Strike's pretty fun. But for every game that's like that gets a release as a full game, there's always the chance that it's going to be like, okay, now that I have money, an actual budget, and a design team,
I'm actually a really shitty game designer. Yeah.
It turns out that when I only had like shoestrings to work with here, I could actually make something that was playable. However, now that I have money and freedom, I can just do whatever the fuck I want. Guess what, motherfucker? Your balls is cold.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Speaking of which, that makes me really, really anxious and kind of nervous because Unturned is coming out with a new version.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
From everyone's favorite 16-year-old programmer.
Dude, he can't be worse than Dean Hall.
No,
it's like I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what he's done with the game in version 3, but I'm also a little scared.
Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen what's happened to Rust in the last few months?
No.
Holy shit, it's a completely different game.
Didn't they like take out zombies?
Yeah, zombies have been gone for a while. I was watching a series of videos. This guy runs this Rustopia server, which is like a really large one, and they like all he does is post these videos like bird's eye view of raids on bases, and people are making these insane like stone and metal bases that are like there's this one structure called the Death Star that's in the game now, and it's just like a big circle on the ground. It's like an oil tank or something like that. And somebody built this giant stone castle on top of it, and there's rocket launchers in the game now. And so there's like this battle between these guys on the ground, these guys up in the castle, firing rockets at each other, trying to break into the base, and like having these running gun battles. It's absolutely amazing to watch. And it looks nothing like the old Rust where it's like, oh, this guy's got a metal door. I can't get past this. And like that whole thing. Like you have to go through upgrading each item or each piece you put down. It starts as twigs, it becomes wood boards, and then it becomes stone, and then it becomes metal as you throw more stuff at it. Like you can't just put down a metal wall. It's pretty neat, and it's pretty funny to watch. They added a dick size thing in it, so when you start off now, you start off completely naked, and by luck of the draw, you have a skin color and a dick size.
That kind of owns.
People back in March when they added the skin color, apparently people got really fucking angry because they ended up as black people, and that's really all you need to do in video games is to make people angry.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say they made like black people dicks huge and white people dicks like tiny.
Oh my god! I would just keep re-rolling characters. Rename myself Big Dick Johnson, start running around, swinging it.
God. What's that guy's name in Daikatana?
Superfly.
Superfly. Yep.
Superfly Johnson.
God.
Yeah.
Damn. What a game.
What a game. So yeah, the Rust seems to have changed a lot, and they've even changed like the map it's on is no longer the map that it's on. It's on they redid the entire island, they redid all the looting systems and the crafting and all that other stuff. So it's like they changed it. They also changed the game engine it was on a while back too.
Is it good? I mean, have you played it?
I have not played it. I've owned that game for over a year, and I have not loaded it on my computer yet. But I really am interested in going into and playing it. My problem with it is kind of the issue I have with a lot of those open world survival games where you have a lot of people playing at the same time. You really need to be dedicated to playing this thing like every day or every couple hours. You have to be available to jump in if there's a raid or something like that. And I just do not have that kind of free time. Like it just is not there. So for me, I'm in bed by 10 o'clock most nights, and it's like I get home, I cook dinner, I exercise, all that other crap. We go through my life here, and like I have this narrow band of time, basically from 8 o'clock to 9:30, where I can play a video game. Like I do not have the time to jump in this thing when there's a raid because it's convenient for other people. So I didn't know it was going to become a huge PvP environment. Like that seems to be what it's become. So for me, that it makes it kind of difficult to justify jumping in all the time, because if people find your base and break through it and destroy your sleeping bag and all your sleeping body and all that shit, you're pretty fucked. So, yeah. But yeah, that's I don't know. That's what it is. I just kind of I was watching those Rust videos. I'll actually send you guys one of those videos. You can kind of judge for yourself how it's changed. But yeah, the Rust stuff's interesting. Three Toes, I wanted to get your opinion on this. Have you seen the Xbox One Elite controller yet?
No, I haven't. I know you mentioned something the other day in a message about it. No, I haven't really been following it.
So Arnold and I did like a 30-minute takedown of this thing last week. It's a $150 goddamn controller for your Xbox One. It comes with like little setups so you can change out the buttons and the sticks. But more importantly, it allows you to map your controls. That is like the big selling point, is you can go in, if you want A to be jump in a game where Y is jump, you can make it A. Like fucking revolutionary shit, man. It absolutely fucking blows my mind that is a product. And I was reading a Forbes article where they're like, we don't really intend to sell a lot of these things. It's just that we're going after the high-end gaming market. And Forbes, of course, was saying that, like, oh, if you go on this website, Falcon One or whatever the fuck it is, you can buy a PC for $10,000, and that's the market Microsoft's going after. It's like, oh man, we need to talk to the motherfucker at that company because he must be making bank. Because you look at the high-end PCs on that thing, you're like, I could make that for $700. What the hell is this shit? Um, but like, they're basically saying that the people who will spend $40 on a mouse or $50 on a mechanical keyboard, those are the people that they want to create a market for on consoles. They're not even.
But they're not gonna buy a fucking. They're not gonna buy a console.
No, they'll buy a PC where they can
Yeah.
customize everything instead of buying a console where they can get a controller that has been customized for them.
And honestly, don't most games have like control options that can pretty much cover any foreseeable controller layout you'd want?
Some games do, some games don't. Like, some of them will throw in that lefty control style and all that stuff, but for the most part, PC and console games really vary in that one thing where there are just generally more options in the PC game, including being able to map basically any button to any button, or any button to any control output. And on consoles, it's like control options are there, sure, but like, think about the people we played Battlefield with. When they went from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4, they had to remember, it's the name of the fucking thing, is that the spot button now throws grenades or whatever the fuck it is. Like, you hit right bumper to spot in Battlefield 4 instead of back. And it's like, what the hell is that about? And
I'm letting you know where these people are by throwing a grenade at them.
Yeah, look over there. But that's kind of the issue, I think, that they're throwing out there, is that, hey, you can't really map this, so buy a $150 controller on top of your $400 system, on top of your $60 game, and you can tell the game what button you want to be what button.
What a deal.
What a deal. It's just
that thing better come with a fucking lifetime warranty.
No, it's
and
just
they'll replace it.
It's just white people technology. It really is. It's just like, look, a minor convenience for way too much money. Like, that's all it is. It's really all it is. And it's fucking frustrating to see people like salivating over the idea of buying this thing. And I love that they're like, and it's PC compatible day one, because the Xbox One controller, not PC compatible day one. Turns out. So they're like Microsoft's really trying to push into the PC market, because like all their games are going to come out on PC now. Like, they've announced that the Gears of War remake is going to be on PC. They've announced Rare's new game is going to be on PC. There's a good chance Master Chief Collection's probably coming to the PC, but why would you buy that shit? It's just like they're very clearly trying to go for a market that does not exist on the Xbox console right now. But yeah. Speaking of really bad ideas, one last really stupid thing before we go. Bungie, they released Destiny last year.
Mm-hmm.
At E3, they announced a new DLC pack to join the other two they've released.
Right.
Called The Taken King.
Mm-hmm.
It's $40.
$40? What the fuck?
It's a $40 DLC. It is
What?
not included in the season pass that people bought, which only included 2 DLCs,
What?
which were $20 each if you bought them individually. Now you can pay the $40 for it, or
That's
you
like
can
old
pay.
school expansion pack type money.
Yeah, and no one knows how big that actually is, and what it includes in terms of missions or anything like that, or raids or new bosses. They have not really been too forthcoming on it. The bigger issue that's come up is that in recent days, it was announced that if you bought the $40 pack, you wouldn't be getting these emotes, because Destiny's basically a fucking MMO. You wouldn't be able to get these emotes that you can do. You wouldn't be able to get these armor shading packs, and you wouldn't be able to get there's like one other thing. I think it was like a class specific move or whatever it is. And people are like, well, that's fucking stupid. And Bungie basically said, well, you could always buy the $60 pack, Taken King pack, which includes the game. Okay, this is how insane it is. The game, the 2 other DLCs that have already been released, and the Taken King for $60, plus those shader items, right? Then there's an $80 version of this $40 DLC that includes like an art book and a steel case and like a plastic toy or some shit,
Oh, fuck.
plus all the other stuff. And people are like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, Bungie? This is like insane." And so they said, "Well, if you don't want to spend the $60 to get the shaders and all this other stuff and the game which you already own, well then why don't you pay $20 to get the three emotes, the shaders, and all that other stuff on top of the $40 for the DLC? So no matter what, if you want to get all the stuff that comes with that Taken King pack, you are paying at least $60. That is insane. That is straight on insane, and people are excited to pay for it. I kid you not, they are excited.
Wasn't that game kind of a huge letdown anyway?
Some people are saying that it's a huge letdown. I've seen a lot of people go like, "It's really good," but that
There was so much fucking hype surrounding that game. When
I got a few friends that are really into it, but it's so grindy. Apparently the PvP is pretty good, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I liked it better when it was called Boner Lads.
Bonerlands.
yeah. Boner Lads is actually the humble bundle this week. Pay like $6 and or $8 and you can get both Borderlands 1 and 2 and like all their DLC.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So you could do that, or you could pay $60 for the DLC Taken King plus Destiny plus the other two DLCs that I'm sure no one played. They're fucking...
Or you can, spend $60 on doing literally anything else that would be a better decision.
Ooh, you know what I did this week that was a better decision? I bought Doom 3 BFG edition, which includes Doom 1 and 2 in it. And then I got the Brutal Doom mod, which got released. And that's been fantastic, save for the abrupt feelings of motion sickness I get in that game. Because if you... This happened to me with the Marathon remakes on the Xbox 360 as well. When you look around in a 2.5D game, the geometry goes all wonky because it was never meant to be looked around in.
Right.
It was meant to be like just viewed. And so Brutal Doom adds complete mouse look, and you can look like 60 degrees up and down from starting position where you couldn't before. And so things that were square or rectangular, if you look up at them, they become like trapezoidal or something like that. It just goes all wonky because it was never meant to be, seen from a different angle. And for some reason that causes me to have massive, massive nausea issues. And so now I know what it was like for my dad when we first played Turok Dinosaur Hunter on the N64. And he's just like, "I can't watch this game. It makes me feel sick." And it was like... I don't know, it was a whole thing. But that was like an $8 purchase during the Steam sale. And I've gotten more out of that than I think anyone's ever gotten out of Destiny.
God, I remember when Doom 3 came out, and that was like the litmus test of how boss your fucking PC was.
Yup.
It's
2004,
like, oh my
baby.
god, can you... Oh shit, you can run Doom 3? Oh my god,
Yeah.
how much you spend on your graphics card?
Oh my god, yeah. I built my my PC, my Pentium 4, 3.2 gigahertz. Yeah.
In like 5 years, we're going to be making fun of people like me
Yeah.
who own the 970 and are like, "Yeah, 4 gigabytes of VRAM." And like, oh my god, it's like 12 gigabytes is going to be standard, and it's not even going to be $1,000 for it. It's going to be great. And then, of course, people will still be playing on the PS4 and Xbox One going, "This is amazing." So, like, that's going to be kind of sad, but whatever. So yeah, it's been a busy week in fucked up things in video games. Actually, I lied. Last one I wanted to talk about is something I thought was kind of interesting from a... Sorry, my wife was looking at my cat who's currently laying down in my dog bed and made... She says eminent domain, motherfucker.
I did a paper on that in grad school.
Yeah, my state did a whole Supreme Court
Yeah,
case on that.
it was about your state actually.
I have true story. I can look across. I can look out from the window in my office and see the building that was built on the site of those eminent domain cases.
Oh shit!
Yeah, my company owns that now. So
I wrote like a 30-page paper on that court case and got an A on it because my professor probably didn't even read it.
yeah,
Yep.
the terrifying nature of grad school. So at E3 when they did Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, there was this phrase they used, which was machine apartheid, and people immediately jumped on that. This was before the shootings at the church, so apartheid wasn't on everyone's lips at the time, and people were like, "Machine apartheid? That's terrible. It's the sort of thing only a white person would co-opt into a video game to try to making light of the situation, try to profit off of it." Well, it turns out that the phrase machine apartheid came from two guys who were working for Eidos Montreal at the time and who were coming up with like ideas for the game. And one of them's a black Frenchman, the other one's an Asian Frenchman. And they, as soon as like the backlash started on this, like, oh, white game developers trying to blah blah blah, the black Frenchman came back and said, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is just like, he was saying it's just like endemic of the problem people are having right now with games and every other source of media. And it's one of those things I've seen in real life where people, and it doesn't just happen. A lot of people say, oh, it's a liberal thing. It's both sides of the aisle there. Like, if you confront people with things that they don't want to consider or talk about, they fucking think that you're, like, they automatically assume the worst of you and assume that, like, you are co-opting this or making this,
Yep.
like, wrong. And, like, I work in a very conservative office, and so when I told somebody that, no, you're wrong, like, they were like, well, we should just be happy we have health insurance because with Obama in office, you never know if the company's just going to get rid of us or get rid of our insurance. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. With the employer of X number of employees, they have to provide insurance under the Affordable Care Act. Obama actually helped you in this case.
Yeah.
And, like, she reported me. She reported me for, like, challenging her or something like that. She came in the same day as me. She came in the same day as me. It wasn't like I was challenging a superior, but she, like, went to one of the supervisors and said, Brandon is just, he's making fun of my political beliefs. And it's
What?
like, no, it's not a political belief. It is you being stupid and not understanding the law that you hate so much. And, like, that's,
No,
but
dude,
that is,
dude. Do you think you hear a lot of stuff about Obamacare? Try working in a pharmacy where your average patient is 76 and up.
yeah.
Like, I don't even open my mouth anymore. I'm like, yep.
You're not going to survive long enough to worry about the death
Yep.
panels, old man.
Yep. Praise Reagan. Next.
Yeah. But it's like, the point he was making, and I can agree to it to an extent. I think people who get really freaked out over certain things that are just, they have no meaning to these people. I have a guy on Facebook who constantly fucking posts Facebook statuses that begin with, as a white ally, and it's like, this is going to be some fucking honky
Yikes.
bullshit. So,
Dude, I with this whole Confederate flag thing happening, and I got kind of fed up with it because just some background on me. I've got a big family on my mom's side. My great grandmother was one of like 13, and she had 13 kids.
oh my god.
So yeah,
Fucking clown
like,
car
I
vagina.
went to yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I've said before. So I went up to a family reunion probably a year ago or so. Yeah, about that. And 300 people showed up. Okay, yeah. That wasn't even like 25% of my family.
Jesus.
Yeah. So anyway, background for that is I see a fair amount of a Confederate flag, like South of Rosagan type,
Yeah.
Um,
General
so
Lee
I-
surrendered, I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. I got I got a little upset and I said, I don't understand why people want to fly the flag of a bunch of traitor losers. And it went over about as well as you could expect. And they're like, oh, you just want to ban things you don't agree with. I'm like, no, I just don't think that maybe flags that were, people who literally betrayed their country should be on the same ground. I mean, it'd be like flying the Browns flag over Heinz Field, where the Steelers play. A bunch of fucking losers over on the grounds where a bunch of where winners are. You know? So
winners and rapists.
So I like.
Well, that too.
being the
actually that analogy works.
South Carolinian on this podcast, like, and so my family has literally been in this state since the colonial era, like 1730. I think is as far back as our family's been traced to the state. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, I have no ties to that flag, like no feelings for it, and it feels like the only people who do are the ones who either, I know a lot of people from fucking up north that are more adamant defenders of the Confederate flag.
Oh,
than
yes.
people in this state.
I know a few.
Quick history, and I mean, just to remind people, South Carolina seceded first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And, well, the thing is, and the flag didn't fly from the Civil War to present day. Like, 1938, it went up in the Senate chambers, like the state Senate chambers. It didn't go atop the actual State House until 1961, as they claimed was a celebration of the centennial of the start of the Civil War.
Why would you celebrate
did.
the most?
Yeah,
but then it stayed up.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Georgia changed its state flag to have the Confederate flag on it in the late 1950s. Well, what else was happening in the 1950s and 1960s? Oh, yeah, the Civil Rights Movement.
The blacks are getting uppity again.
Actually,
I'm sorry, coloreds. Excuse me.
That's right, yeah. Negroes.
And, like, South Carolina itself had no ties to the flag that flew over the state capitol and the one that's still on the monument right now that they're getting ready to debate taking down.
They're going to debate
That's
it.
the flag of Northern Virginia's army.
Yeah, it's the Confederate battle flag versus the actual flag of the Confederacy.
Now that I don't like that argument, because the stars and bars were on the national flag for the Confederacy for every flag from the second one on. Which, why did they have so many fucking flags? They were only around for 4 years before they got fucked.
Yeah.
Yankee ingenuity.
Now, what I think upsets people when I talk so harshly about the Confederates is they think I'm disparaging, like, the people who fought or any of that. No, because the average soldier is just going to do what he's told. And the people I'm disparaging are people like Robert E. Lee, who, Army officers have to take this thing called an oath to defend what's it called? The Constitution. Oh, yeah. Yeah, people who break oaths and go against the country that they were swore to protect. There's a word for that, and it's called being a fucking traitor.
So, well, and not to get too far into this, but, I was always raised to, remember where I came from, honor the past, honor your ancestors.
Yeah.
But honor doesn't mean you grant just carte blanche, free license that they did no wrong. No, it means you celebrate the triumphs and you learn from the mistakes.
Exactly.
That whole fucking war was a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, a huge fucking mistake. Putting the flag back up was a huge fucking mistake. So I really wish it would get resolved sometime soon, because the only people that still, the only people that still want to fly the flag are racists. Yeah. That's it.
I don't think there's a lot.
There's no other category.
Oh, there are people who yell states' rights at it all the time.
My God.
But they don't even care about that.
I hate that
it was
shit.
states' rights, but it was the states' rights to own people.
Exactly.
That was
and
like,
if
you actually read the I forgot, it's some long drawn out title, but it's basically the official declaration of South Carolina's secession and the reasons behind it. Yeah, it flat out mentions the attack on slavery. by the North as the reason.
No, I mean you can argue that the North basically was fucking with the South and forced them to have an agricultural economy based on low, not paid, slaves, workers. But that's still a little thin, man. I mean, like the states' rights thing didn't really come around until near the end of the war, where they were trying to go appeal to foreign countries, people who don't think owning people is okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, this is a noble cause for strong state government, and like, like if you're a proponent of strong state government, awesome, more power to you. That's great, but that's not what the Civil War was.
I gotta ask you guys, because you both grew up in the South and were educated.
Florida is not the fucking South.
Sorry, fucking Hicktown, USA, and
the Panhandle is.
Up once you get
Tallahassee.
north of Orlando, it becomes like southern Georgia.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the question I have: how did they teach you about the Civil War when you were in school, when you were kids, to high school? Let's say, okay, when you became literate, which in your state was probably somewhere around 23, how did they teach you about the Civil War?
So, as I remember, and again, that was a long fucking time ago. It probably would have been 6th or 7th grade, or maybe 8th, when we first started learning about it. And I really don't remember it being, the whole rose-tinted glasses that people assume would be in the South. I distinctly remember it being about slavery, and like I don't. And again, I'm in fucking South Carolina. Like there wasn't any like mythologizing of Confederate heroes. It really was like the South wanted to keep slaves, and again they still said that part of that was being states' rights. But the states' rights were wanting to keep slaves.
Yeah,
so maybe I was lucky. I was in a pretty, again for South Carolina, a pretty urbanized modern area.
Yeah, truthfully, you probably benefited from states not spending a lot of money on textbooks for a long time. Because I remember
all them textbooks was written up north.
Yeah, can't have these no more. Put them on the fire, Jim Bob.
You and your book learning.
For me, the experience was largely the same. It's like, oh yeah, the more people died in this than every American conflict put together to date. Like, yeah, like 20,000 in a day. Yeah,
I mean, we took field trips down here to Charleston, out to Fort Sumter.
Yeah,
all
I've
the historic sites, the old dungeons, and slave quarters and plantations.
Yeah,
like it was never hidden or mythologized that it wasn't fucking atrocities against humanity that were going on.
Yeah,
but again, I don't know what it was like in the more rural parts of the state, or in Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi.
right.
Somebody I was talking to my friend, and he's like, I'm like, it's only been 160 years. It ended, what, 1865 or no, 1860?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I mean, there are people alive who knew Civil War veterans.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they're old as fuck now, but I mean, that's not a huge separation. So I mean, it's kind of we've come really far. And I'm not saying everybody has to be a fucking social justice warrior, and not everything has to be politically correct and all that. But with this specific thing, this was a group of people who thought it was okay to own people. And don't get me wrong, yeah, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. All the founders of the nation owned slaves. And you know what? I fucking love America. I love the founding fathers. But if they had a specific symbol that was like, hey, this says it's okay to own people, that wouldn't be what we that wouldn't be what we cherish, and that's what that flag is.
And see, that's been like one of the bigger supposed counter arguments of those who were for the Confederate flag. They're like, oh well, there was slavery under the American flag. It's like, yeah, but they fucking recognized the mistake and fixed it.
Yeah, and they also didn't start a war that killed 630,000 people.
Ah, boy. You say that down south, boy. Let me tell you.
Well,
Uh,
I gotta admit though, it's definitely getting better.
Yeah.
Again, in rural parts of the state,
absolutely.
it's still crazy.
So you think it's kind of your sort of the older generation that's really causing the controversy around it?
It is. It is that, and those who just basically blindly follow their parents' politics without really thinking for themselves.
Right, right.
Um, and again, it helps that here in Charleston that God, within the last 3 to 5 years alone, we've had just an influx of population from out of state, from up north, everywhere to kind of bring in more outside ideals. But even I think a lot of Charleston's always kind of been the more liberal city in the state, but again by national standards is still pretty conservative.
Ain't voting for Bernie Sanders.
But I mean, that's the beautiful thing about America. We're a melting pot. So, I mean, as time has gone on, we've gotten more and more people who have come and kept immigrating, and that's the fucking dream of America. That's why we're awesome. Well, okay, so immigration's okay until white people aren't a giant majority anymore, and that's terrifying because these people, and I say this as a white person, these are people who have always been the majority. And I was talking to one of the Christians who had posted something about them not liking. They were actually really civil about it. They said they don't agree with it based on their faith and all that. And I engaged with them and spoke, and it's just this persecution complex. Oh, yeah. That white people and white Christians specifically, with the gay marriage thing happening too. It's a rough week to be a conservative white Christian.
Oh man, yeah. Ted Cruz's head must have fucking exploded today.
Oh
just
man.
Like Supreme Court says Obamacare is okay and gay marriage is legal.
And you got to get rid of that flag, bud. Sorry.
But I was going to use that.
But I mean, it's just. It's not the end of the world, because you know what's true of black people and Hispanic people and every other people or every other person on the planet. They're fucking human, and they're all right. Just because they do some things differently from you doesn't mean it's the end of the fucking world.
Yeah, but
I mean, I was actually talking with some people about this earlier, because you briefly mentioned the church shooting earlier. Like I walk by that church fairly often to and from work, and just what's gone on in the city is as horrific as everything was. Like the actual response to it is like really uplifting. Like you things are still pretty bad and people are still pretty on edge, but you kind of get the sense that like as fucking altruistic, as corny as it sounds, like you finally get the sense that like love's starting to overcome hate in this country.
Yeah.
And it's really refreshing when you can kind of see people like band together like that.
What did you I have to ask this question too. What did you think of the next day on Fox News, where they were trying to play it off as if it was an attack on Christianity rather than an attack on black people?
What?
I didn't even see that.
Larry Wilmore, his nightly show, which honestly he should have kept
I love the nightly show.
He should have just kept that thing named The Minority Report. That was a way better name.
Yeah. It's such a good show.
He did an impressive takedown, because like Fox and Friends and all the other shows on Fox in the Morning and Joe Scarborough, like all these really conservative places were trying to say that like, oh, this guy was attacking them because they were Christian, not because they were black. And I have to say, it was like one of those moments where you're like, if you watch this thing, that is probably what you actually think. Like you couldn't, either you're too stupid to understand racism is like still a problem, or you just refuse to believe that racists are a thing. Like I don't understand how you could, because the guy straight up said, "I'm killing black people."
Yeah, he literally told the survivor like that's why he was doing it.
And there's
First
still
of all,
some wiggle room,
he fucking told her that he was leaving her alive so she could tell people what happened. Is fucked up beyond all recognition.
That's fucking terrifying that person thought of that. Like, next to shooting 9 people on purpose, that's a pretty fucking terrifying act still.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the weird media response to all this, and like these fights that people have had over the flag, and it's like, why are we having? And I texted this to a friend of mine. It's like, why in the year of our Lord 2015 are we finally having a fucking debate about the Confederate flag being flown over state houses and being on state ground, when that thing has been like a symbol for many, 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 many people of, you know, oppression and racism for decades. Like, there's no good reason that thing is still up. And my wife's cousin, use a southern phrase, bless his heart, he posted the day before the Supreme Court ruling on the gay marriage question. He posted a thing on Facebook that was like, why is this flag against the rainbow gay pride flag free speech, but this is hate speech, and stars and bars?
Because one is all about hate.
Yeah,
That's
like literally.
yeah.
Based on the amount of melanin in your skin, you are not a person.
Yeah, and like that is the fucking headspace that those lunatics fucking occupy. And now we're gonna get fucking targeted by fucking retards. This is gonna be amazing.
It's been really funny.
I don't use that term lightly anymore. I'm talking.
It
like
just
straight
feeds into
people.
that victim complex. Like, Jesus Christ, I have not seen a victim like a persecution complex on a group of people so completely disgusting. Then like dude, like they were like the one of the Christian, of course, had a crazy Christian friend that was ended up talking with on Facebook, and by talking I mean, ooh, that was rough. Anyway, and he comes in and he says, "Oh, it's going to be illegal to be Christian." I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Okay, so tell me about all the Muslim and all the Jewish holidays that are federal holidays that we have to celebrate. Oh, wait, they're all Christian ones. So shut the fuck up. I mean, oh my God, religious privilege
really don't
is huge.
Understand it.
So my favorite thing on Friday was after the gay marriage thing was announced. My wife and I were driving around getting stuff done because we had a wedding to go to later in the day. And we just turned on the local conservative talk radio station to hear what they would be talking about, because we're basically expecting the gay apocalypse. And instead, the guy we were listening to devoted like a good hour and a half to the fact that Gone with the Wind would probably not be able to be sold because there's a Confederate flag featured heavily in it. And
okay, what? Nobody's saying that they want to ban the Confederate flag. Nobody is fucking saying that. They just don't want it on a fucking government-owned property. Anyway.
And then he was saying that the funny part was that he was saying that, like, and you can go to my store, you know, here's the web address, and buy a copy of Gone with the Wind right now. And it's like, oh shit, this guy's trying to make $1. Like, their loyalty to this thing runs as far as their wallets will carry them. Like, it's not even a thing. But the gay marriage thing on the talk radio station was absolutely amazing, because they had people in, like, they're going to remove tax exempt status from church. Like, okay, like,
good.
I don't think
should.
that the guys, if you're running a mega church, you probably are not going to hurt too much from that. Yeah. Just a heads up. Catholic Church is the world's largest landowner. They shouldn't have too many issues. I don't know what the hell's going on anymore, but we should really end this before we get too far into politics.
I will say,
been there for a half hour.
I will say real quick from Friday, and again, I don't know if it was nationally broadcast, but the president's eulogy at the funeral for Reverend Pinckney, the state senator who was shot at the church, it was an amazing speech.
Yeah.
Like, if you can find footage of it, it's pretty long, but it's incredibly powerful. A lot of people have been giving the president flack about getting political in a eulogy, which I can understand, people not wanting a funeral to get political, but Reverend / Senator Pinckney was a very political person. Like, all the issues the president spoke about were near and dear to the Reverend's heart, that he spoke about at length, like dedicated his political, religious, and social life to. So why, like, to not get political during the eulogy would have been a dishonor to him.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
seriously watch it if you get a chance. It's pretty
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to read the text of the speech, and that was pretty good. But I should go find it.
You should, like, at the very end, like, spoiler alert, like, the president starts just singing Amazing Grace at the very end. It's like jaw-dropping amazing.
You'd think that by now he actually, and this is, we're going to go make a light of this, you'd think by now he would actually have just a boilerplate "you were in a mass shooting" funeral address, because there have been fucking many of them.
He kind of mentions stuff along that. And I will say, on a more lighthearted note, like, I don't know how many like Southern gospel black AME church services you've ever seen or attended, but with modern gospel bands, whenever the preacher gets really excited about something, you'll hear the band start to, like, riff on a hymn or whatnot, and, like, playing behind him speaking. They started doing that during the president's speech, and I just thought to myself, I was like, oh my god, I wish the president had a gospel band riffing behind him for all of his speeches. It's so great. And even at the very end, the head reverend who was, like, officiating the entire service was like, "We'd like to thank the Dr. Reverend Mr. President for his contributions today." He seriously sounded like a reverend while he was speaking. It was great. It was so great.
Oh my god. All right, so I'm glad we ended on a lighthearted note instead of talking about depressing bullshit all night.
We really got political there. Jesus.
Yeah, that was, probably should avoid that in the future, because
that's what happens when companies stop putting out good games.
Yeah, you're gonna make me talk about bad video games and politics.
I'd rather talk about a mass shooting than talk about Batman Arkham Knight.
Oh man, hold on. All right, bring it up.
Yeah, can we edit that out?
No, one more note. I am not changing my Facebook picture to that goddamn rainbow-colored filter.
Oh,
because you know what? You know fucking what? I married a fucking lesbian. I'm as pro-gay marriage as you can fucking get.
As long as they marry me. I saw that go up for everybody, and I'm like, it's fantastic that you support gay rights and everything. I think you could probably do it in a less fucking white person way. Because, like, I've added white person to my vocabulary for stupid shit in my life, because it's just, it goes back to that whole thing I was talking about earlier, where people are like, oh, it should be equal, and if I don't get it equal, then I'm upset and you're offending me. Like, I associate that with white people so much right now, and I'm white, so it becomes a whole thing. But
we're all capital W white. Like, we're not.
Murder was the case that they gave me, Arnold. I don't know what your problem is.
I don't know. I'm a bassist in a jazz band, so I think I'm at least more black than the rest of you two.
No, not today. If you're a bassist in a jazz band today, you're definitely white as hell. Because only white people listen to jazz music anymore. Let's be honest here. It's like you turn on NPR and it's like, these three jazz giants, the three people you've never fucking heard of, finally got together for an album. It's like, because they were the only three jazz musicians.
So I'm either a white guy or a 60-year-old black person.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right.
But you look 50, so that's good news.
Yeah. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, everyone.